So there is a lot of talk about decolonization and decolonizing our relationship to, nature, decolonizing our relationships with each other, um, decolonizing our relationship with the Most High. And one thing that I feel like, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but we need to, in my opinion, based on what I see and how I feel when I'm studying and learning about herbalism, botany, looking at wild plants, wild edibles, wild herbs, and things of that nature, there's a lot of focus and attention on the scientific name. And every scientific name is really just the name. It's named after the foreigner, this foreign entity that discovered, sort of, quote unquote, discovered these wild plants. And I'm not going to say it bothers me, but it doesn't sit right with me to just focus so much on these names, because I'm not to decolonize. First of all, we need to decolonize our tongue and our minds, because we think, we speak, and we do everything based on the English language. And when we even looking at nature, everything, even nature, all of these words and terms is based on science or Western science, foreign entities giving us the mind that we have to even be able to say this is that, this is what this is that, and we're no longer thinking or speaking in a native tongue. I hope this makes sense, but that's another part of decolonization, because you're not even relating to the land from a native mind anymore. Everything is named after a so-called white man or woman that discovered it, or it's discovered by another white, European, whatever person, but named after a royal person back home in their home country or something like that. Lake Victoria. You know what I'm saying? Like Victoria Falls, and just those aren't plants, but you get what I mean. Even something like, bougainvillea. I'm probably not saying it right, but I really don't care to say it right. If you know what I'm talking about, the plant that goes by the name bougainvilleas. That's a French or Portuguese name. One of the other, it doesn't really matter, because that's not the original name. It's not originally how we, as native people, indigenous people, brown people, would refer to this entity that we commune with. That's not, even other indigenous African plants that I'm, learning about being in Africa. None of these plants are known just by, or when you study these plants coming from the West or whatever, if you're not learning from people who are born here that know the name, and that know its use, and just refer to it and commune with it, and just use their own tongue, that's bothersome. That's bothersome to me. That's very bothersome. So I don't really want to just focus on the scientific name and say, oh, the name of this plant is da 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 da, and I'm saying the name of some foreign white man or woman, whatever, some white scientist, and kind of calling on that as I don't know, it feels somehow like idolatry to me, like making like that person is the god of this plant or something. I don't know. You get my drift. We need to decolonize our relationship with the land, with nature. We need to decolonize our mind and our tongue, and start referring to these plants with a name in a more indigenous native tongue that speaks to not who found it, but it speaks to it, or speaks of it as a creation of the Most High, and it kind of speaks to the use of it as well. and it gives glory to the Most High, because the Most High created these plants and gave these plants these properties and things like that. The Most High did not name these plants after a man or a woman even. The Most High gave these plant uses and properties and characteristics. And in our native tongue, anytime that you look at a plant and you call it by its native tongue, or indigenous people have given plants names, we always have given plants names based off of the characteristics of the plant, what you can use it for. And essentially, when you do that, you're not praising or worshiping the plant. You're giving somehow praises and acknowledging what it was created for, what it was created by. And it's more of a holy sacrament at that point. It's more of a holy veneration of the Most High, if that makes sense, just a life. But when we call on these names that are given to us by these scientists and so focused on the scientific name, you're giving glory to the person that found it and thinks that they're giving themselves a credit. You're building up man and not thinking about the creator of man. And so that's something I really think about often. So yeah, calling on these names and making that person essentially the god of the plant, the god of the land, and worshiping that person essentially like it's a contract that we're like kind of invoking the spirit of them, if that makes sense. Everything that we do is an invocation. Every time that we speak, it's an invocation. Every time that we think, it's an invocation. And if those things, if those names and those ideas and ideologies are how we are relating and communing with the land, then there's a process that needs to happen as far as decolonizing and getting away from that. Because yeah, I'm at the point now, I don't even feel bad if I don't pronounce a name right, a scientific name. I don't feel bad if I don't spell it right, if I don't know the scientific name for all of these different plants, because those names don't matter anyway. Yeah, this may have been all over the place, but essentially, I hope y'all get my drift.